Those scenes, of course, in Alexandra, where people, victims of violent crime, are talking to some of the ANC's top leaders. Well, you would have heard earlier the death of Don Mattera, the poet, the playwright, passing away at the age of 86, a career going all the way back to the 1950s. We're joined now by Lebo Mashile, a poet herself, an actor and performance poet. She has agreed to share her memories of Don Mattera. Lebo, good afternoon to you. I really appreciate the time. Thank you. How will you remember Don?
Don was an iconoclast. He was such a multi-layered human being. In addition to the things that you have mentioned, Don was also a living archive. He had a memory like an encyclopedia. His memory rivaled Google. Don had a layered identity that was so very South African, but at the same time also held all this complexity. He was black, and he was colored, and he was Muslim, and he was Pan-African, and he was black conscious. He cared about art and literature. He was a gangster. He was an activist. Don started writing poetry at the age of 8 years old. He was at a boarding school in KZN, a Catholic boarding school. The nuns are the ones who recognized that Don had a prodigious gift with language. And up until his death, up until today, Don had a reverence for the space of the Catholic Church, even though he was a Muslim. The complexity of what it means to be a South African, what it means to be an artist, what it means to be a public figure who cares about justice in his life, in our lifetime. He cared so much, and he held all of these roles simultaneously in a way that I've never seen anybody else do. He was an extraordinary human being. Like, truly, when they say that a tree has fallen, when Africa loses an elder, like, we've lost the baobab now.
When you talk about someone who encapsulates some of the complexities of our society, he was also writing, as early as the 1950s, a very dangerous time to be writing what he was writing.
Don was very clear about the fact that memory is the weapon. He understood the power of the written word. He understood the power of what it means to convey messages, the power of what it means to hold on, to preserve memory, and to preserve memory through a very human lens. He preserved human stories, not like big institutional stories. He cared about what was happening to the little guy. He's one of the single figures in our cultural history who kept the memory of Sophia Town alive. With every performance, with every job, with every public event, he evoked the memories of people who our society would otherwise forget, and he understood that was what his role was as an artist. I feel like if I had not been exposed to the way that Don worked, his wisdom, his generosity, his compassion, I would not be the artist that I am today.
How would you sum up his legacy? Is it about how long he was working for? Is it about the complexity of his life as you've described it, bringing so many things together?
I think his legacy, for me, it comes down to memory, identity, and creativity. Above all else, he was a creative human being who lived with immense passion and who held so many different communities of people through his work, his life, his activism, his very being. Don insisted on holding on to people's stories. He insisted that it was essential for people to know who they are and where they come from and what has happened in this country. And he understood the power in that. And it was a very graceful power, but also a power that could bludgeon you over the head if in a society that is as invested in erasure as South Africa is and has been historically. I remember him as being ferocious and equally being compassionate. I'm so overwhelmed by his passing, but also by his life. When a figure like this dies, it's then that we're given the opportunity to truly reflect on their magnificence. There'll never be another Don Mattera. He was singular.
Lebo Mashile, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. A poet, an actor and performance poet, a man of memory in a society invested in erasure. Perhaps a takeaway from that interview. Ma'am, thank you.